Support WrestleTalk!
Donate on Patreon.
Was that the best episode of SmackDown this year already? I'm Ollie Davis. This is Luke Owen. Welcome to the WrestleRamble SmackDown review episode, where we had a corking episode last night with, hey, get this, wrestling on it.
Hey man, do you know what? Sometimes you do get wrestling on these wrestling shows.
It's such a novelty, and if you told me 2 years ago most of your favourite episodes of WWE TV are going to be structured around gauntlet matches.
Right.
I would have been like, what, gauntlet matches? Might as well say beat the clock challenges. It's such a weird not a weird format, but it's something that WWE have never really done to this level.
I'll tell you why, because it reminds you of like that 2008 to 2013 periods where like every Raw and every SmackDown and every pay-per-view looks and feels the same. And it felt like they just did a lot of gauntlet matches, but they only went 10 minutes. Whereas gauntlet matches now go an hour and 10 minutes, and then wrestlers get to do stuff, and it feels much nicer.
Yeah, and it's usually just John Cena winning.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, great, John Cena beat everyone.
LOL.
And DX beat everyone. And DX, but now you've got like these really, and it's not just the same template. These are differently structured gauntlet matches. So what happened on this week's SmackDown? The last half of the show was an excellent six-man gauntlet for all the people who are now in the chamber match, because Mustafa Ali is very, very unfortunately injured. He got injured by Randy last week. He got that black eye. And then over the weekend on the house shows, it seems he's suffered a concussion. So he's been pulled. I was like, damn it. But I imagine there was a silver lining to this cloud, because you wanted Andrade, Cien Almas in there.
I said Andrade would be great in there. There was also reports that Luke Harper might be returning to TV. So I thought, hey, maybe you could put Luke Harper in there as a babyface before you lead into him joining this sort of Daniel Bryan faction and do that as a storyline. I was fantasy booking it in my head on the way to work yesterday. But instead, they just announced at the start of the show, they had a graphic up on screen, but they had other things they needed to do first. But like, here's a graphic. Ali is at the chamber. It's going to be a member of the New Day. We don't know which one, but we'll get onto that in a little bit.
I was so confused. I was like, so are they all in the chat? Surely that pod's not going to be big enough for Big E alone.
Yeah, so it was a very sort of blink and you'll miss it graphic at the start. But they announced throughout the show that Ali was injured, and he had this amazing promo where he announced that he wasn't going to be in there. Shot outside in the cold streets of Chicago by the looks of things. I really like the presentation of Ali promos. And then they did a tease of which member of the New Day are going to be. And Big E tried to take his jacket off, and they went, no. Then Xavier Woods stepped up, and I was like, yes, be Woods. Be Xavier Woods. Be Xavier Woods. Then he stepped back, and it was Kofi Kingston. And I've got to be honest, my heart did sink a little bit.
Same here. I was there with you.
Yeah.
Out of all those guys, and you're like, man, Kofi is really great these days, but he was flattened out into that mid-card where he would just be the warm body put into Money in the Bank matches, Elimination Chamber matches.
This is his first Elimination Chamber, I believe.
No.
I believe it is. He was going to be in one, and then Edge
took him out.
Spot.
Right, of course. But he's usually that hot body to just take a few moves and do a few high spots, kind of the John Morrison spot, where he's never going to win.
No.
And I was like, well, all right, it's Kofi. This could be quite nice. I'm sure Daniel Bryan will beat him, because the gauntlet match started off with Bryan versus Kofi. I'm like, well, Bryan's going to beat him here, and then, go on with the help of Rowan, and then maybe we get that Harper appearance. And oh my God, credit to WWE and their booking. We've got to say, we are very critical of a lot of the stuff they do, but they are also very good, because they've got some very talented people behind the scenes, and it seems on SmackDown they're allowed to execute their ideas logically, and they pulled off something that I didn't know I wanted.
And that's Kofi in the main event.
Yeah.
There was, as I said, like when it was revealed that it was Kofi, my heart did sink a little bit. Same as you. He's been a mid-carder for 11 plus years or whatever it is. And I'm just like, oh man, really, a Kofi push in 2019? It seems a bit late in the day. By the end of the show, I was like, Kofi, 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 come on, man, come on, just one more guy, you can do this. When he got locked in the calf crusher with AJ, I was like, come on, man, you can pull through this, you can pull through this, because here's a headline for you. Kofi Kingston is great at professional wrestling.
I'm worried that people will hear us be down on this initial Kofi. When he was selected, we're like, oh God, it's Kofi. Because I think we're very big Xavier Woods fans.
Yeah.
And I feel like he hasn't had that great singles run, and he's the youngest, I think, of the bunch. He's got so much potential there. Kofi is at the other end of his career, really. We weren't disappointed because we don't like Kofi. We're disappointed because of the way he's been booked for over a decade.
Yeah.
And all these stop-start pushes. The most famous one was where he was in this great feud with Randy Orton, and it really felt like he was going to break through to the main event scene.
Push through.
And then they just cut it off.
Yeah.
Supposedly because Randy just decided, I don't want to work with you anymore. And that put the kibosh on the whole storyline. And Kofi just, I don't know, did it become airborne with Evan Bourne after that?
I believe.
Airboom, yeah.
Yeah, when he was in that awful era of Kofi Kingston gimmicks.
Yeah, so
New Day really did save that man's career.
Oh my God, yeah. And yeah, so Kofi's put in, and the match, the idea behind the gauntlet match was the winner gets to enter the chamber last.
Yes.
So you had all the 6 competitors in. So that's Kofi now, Bryan, Joe, AJ Styles, Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton.
Yeah.
And it starts off.
You'd be forgiven for forgetting that Jeff Hardy was in
I
this
forgot.
match.
Well, so we're a bit way through this match. So I'm like, and it was AJ Styles. I forgot. It feels like he hasn't done much recently, but.
He
start
punched
off.
Vince McMahon.
Yeah. The new AJ Styles.
Yeah, the
real
aggressive one,
AJ Styles.
The real hothead that we just keep seeing week after week in all of his matches. Really does. That hothead just keeps coming out.
Hayes, it's emotionally consistent.
He really, really is.
But it started off with Bryan and Kofi, and I thought, this is going a long time. And they were having a really solid TV match that must have gone. It went through their portion went through 2 commercial breaks.
I think it went over 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
I'd
just by
say
itself.
probably, if I was to have it to guess, 23, 24 minutes, and not a single rest hold in sight. It was Bryan working over Kofi, and Kofi trying to make comebacks, but every time he tried to make a comeback, Big Red Rowan on the outside would trip him up or throw him over the barricade and stuff, because he's a big, bloody, stupid tree of a heel. And Daniel Bryan would then get the advantage of that again, before the referee eventually ejected New Day and Rowan from ringside. And then you're like, okay, well, here's Bryan's going to get a roll up, get the win. And then Kofi kicks out, and you're like, oh, that was cool. Then Bryan goes to do the running knee, like, right, well, here it comes then. Kofi dodges the running knee, hits the Trouble in Paradise, and gets the win. You're like, Kofi just pinned the WWE champion. And that's the start of this story. Really, basically, we'd have talked about the exact same episode of SmackDown Live, but you could just replace Kofi with the name Mustafa Ali. I'd imagine nothing in this match was changed when they found out that Ali was injured. I think the structure of the match was exactly the same. It's just that Ali was going to be in the Kofi role. Yeah,
especially with the Samoa Joe spot later on, where Kofi sort of rolled up Samoa Joe off a Kikina clutch, and Joe was eliminated and pinned. This is the only downside, and it's nothing anyone can do. This is no one's fault. It's just Mustafa Ali. This was Mustafa Ali's spot. Yeah. And this could have really proven him. But, Kofi gets this position and he really excels in it. It's not like he's gone, oh, okay, I'm not meant to be in this spot. He really gave it his all. He's got this opportunity and he took it. And yet, just the Bryan Kofi portion was such a tremendous, slow building match where it just made me believe a little bit more each time. I'm like, I'm into Kofi.
Yeah.
I'm getting into Kofi right now.
Never thought I'd be saying that in 2019, that I'm into Kofi as a main eventer on SmackDown in the WWE Championship picture. Very happy to be proven wrong. It's one of those occasions which I very much like every now and again. Love to be proven wrong. I love to be surprised by professional wrestling, where I think my cynical hat comes on. I'm like, oh, God, I don't want this. Then they give it to me and I'm like, actually, this is excellent. I'm very glad you gave me this.
Yeah, because there's a danger, especially with our sort of fandom, is to kick back and fantasy book something. You become so attached to that fantasy booking, you want them to do that. And anything they do is usually considerably inferior, not just because it's not your own idea, but because WWE's booking largely is ineffective. So when they give you something so much better than the best thing you could think of. You're like, that's why you have a wrestling company and I don't. Because you're
Absolutely,
geniuses
yeah.
when you're allowed to be.
I suppose the question is, coming out of this, is this just a one-time thing? Is this just Kofi is getting this push because Ali is injured and they needed a body in there? Or are we going to continue to see Kofi within the main event picture of SmackDown Live? Like, is he going to have a program going into WrestleMania?
If this was my wrestling company, sometimes, because WWE sometimes they don't see stuff like this as opportunities. They see them as, damn it, we had someone injured and their plans were for them. So we'll just fill that gap for now and then we'll course correct afterwards. Yeah. And they'll drop the person who got all that momentum off that initial, like, of the replacement. So what I would do is just, I would have Kofi go on a sort of US title tear. Add him to that Rusev, Nakamura, Andrade, Rey Mysterio mix going into WrestleMania and keep the momentum going. That doesn't mean you have to break up the New Day. One of the most beautiful sights of this after Kofi had lasted, I don't know how long.
He went over
minutes.
an hour.
Really?
Over an hour.
40 minutes of TV time, maybe. Yeah, but like an hour of that. And when he's eventually eliminated by AJ Styles, they run down and they pick him up and they're like so proud of him and they walk him to the back. It was lovely.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really like about the New Day is that Woods and Big E, and they do this in their promos a lot as well, where they're like, Kofi's the most experienced out of us. He's the best one out of the three of us. We want him to get a push. We want him to be the big face of this group. And when they say, if one of us wins the Royal Rumble, we all win the Royal Rumble, I genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
When they say, if one of us wins Money in the Bank, we're all Money in the Bank winners. If we win a title, we're all... I genuinely believe that they think that way. So they are going to be pushing for Kofi to be WWE champion because they all get to be WWE champion that way. There's not like this jealousy thing. It's not like that Royal Rumble. It's every man for themselves. It's, hey, man, we're as tight as it gets, but when it comes to the Royal Rumble, I'm going for that. Blah, blah. It's none of that. They just feel like three best mates. And you don't need to break this group up if you want to give one of them a singles run.
It's a very rare example where I wouldn't break up a faction or have one turn heel on the other ever.
Nope.
Maybe in a few years' time I'll be saying something different. There's only so many wacky New Day skits I can take before my patience is worn thin. Mm-hmm. But this was perfect New Day. This was the most serious New Day can get. And it was fantastic. I'm just looking back at my notes here. And I'm just such an idiot. Interesting, starting Bryan off first in the gauntlet match. It's going to be psychologically backwards having the heel last that long. Kofi. And then it was sort of around halfway through the Bryan Kofi opener that I realized there's like 45 minutes left of this show. There's no more segments or in-ring promos. We're just going to get one long match.
Yeah, we are not ending this with a Rusev Nakamura segment.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, I guess the only other way you could have done it, I'm just like spitballing ideas now, is to start off with the gauntlet match, advertise other segments for later on, but then say, well, we'll still win the gauntlet match and bump the other segments.
TNA did that once.
Yeah.
They had it was when they only had an hour-long show, and they kicked off the night. It was a triple threat. I think it was Christian, Rhino, and Kurt Angle, I want to say. I might be wrong on some of those, but it was a triple threat match for the title. And they were like, well, this is the first match of the show. We've got this coming up on the show as well. We've got this coming up on the show. But the match actually took up the entire show, the entire hour-long show. And Tenay and West just kept going like, we've got to cancel some of these segments. Like, we're just going to have to stick with this match until we've got a winner.
It makes it feel really...
It was really cool.
Impulsive and spontaneous and real because of that. Yeah, so Kofi eventually beat Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan did not lose anything through losing. Daniel Bryan is a master at being pinned as the champion and getting other people over just because they pin the champion in a non-title match.
It's kind of like the opposite of AJ, because it felt like AJ was pinned a lot when he was WWE champion.
But never felt special.
No.
Yeah.
But whereas Bryan, when people pin Bryan, you're like, oh my God, they just pinned the champion.
Well, I can only think of twice, really. It was Ali in that tag match and this one now.
Yeah.
It just feels really, really... Yeah, they're doing such good work on SmackDown. So Jeff Hardy's out next. He gets beat pretty quickly.
Jeff Hardy looked so rubbish. Like, he was moving so slowly. And Kofi has just wrestled for like 25 minutes. Jeff Hardy comes out, gets like one move, and he's like, I'm just as tired as you are, mate. Like, come on, you look rubbish. Then he missed the swanton, and Kofi hit the SOS for a quick win. Yeah, Jeff Hardy looked proper crap.
Well, he's still selling that most vicious beatdown ever from Randy Orton.
It's amazing he's still in the ring.
Back in
really.
September. It's so vicious, that. Samoa Joe was out after that, and of course, Joe's awesome.
Yep.
And he just took it to Kofi. There was no sympathy from this guy. And Kikina, there was this really good crossbody outside from Kofi. Where, when moves just connect perfectly, there's a real satisfaction of watching it.
Yeah.
The Kofi crossbody to Joe on the outside, I thought was beautiful.
My favourite spot of this, though, is when Kofi goes to do like a springboard and Joe just pushes him to the outside. And he doesn't go out to get him. He's just, I'm going to take this 10 count.
Yeah.
And he just goes to the other side of the ropes, leans up against it, and just starts counting along, going, 6.
Which
is so good.
And that sort of complacency does protect you in the finish when you are rolled up and you're caught unaware in a sort of tortoise and the hare scenario.
You want to talk about writing notes that make you look like you're the absolute idiot when you wrote them. I kept saying to myself, like, oh, Joe's an idiot. Why didn't he just lock in the clutch? Like, Kofi's clearly tired. Just lock in the clutch and get the win, Joe. And then he locked in the clutch and Kofi reversed it and pinned him. I was like, it's probably why you didn't want to lock in the clutch straight away there, Joe.
And then to build this underdog story even more of Kofi, Joe's annoyed, so he beats the crap out of Kofi. Locks in the Kikina clutch on the outside. Who's out next? It's the guy I forgot about, AJ Styles. He runs down, saves Kofi by beating up Joe. And at this point, I'm like, wait a sec. Is Joe also going to take out AJ Styles? And that levels the playing field for Kingston and AJ when their part of the gauntlet match starts up. I don't disagree with the way they went, but that's just another way they could have taken it. And it got me on the edge of my seat thinking, where are you going to go with this match?
And I loved Kofi's never
brilliant.
quit attitude. Because they went to a commercial break, and they used that commercial break to kind of like tell the story of Kofi trying to get back in the ring. And you got AJ out there with his ring jacket on, just going like, he can't go. Like, he cannot wrestle. But Kofi's like getting up to his feet, and AJ goes over to the corner and is like, are you sure? Like, you can just quit, man. Like, no one will think any less of you if you quit. And the commentators are putting this over as well. Even Corey Graves was like, I've been made a believer tonight in Kofi Kingston. And Kofi just fires up, starts slapping AJ, going like, let's do this. And I was like, yes, man, come on, let's go.
That was my favorite part of the match. As much as I love the New Day coming down to help him out, that was the best part.
Yeah.
It really fired up everything. And you mentioned the commentary there. The commentary was pretty damn terrific for this match because they all started out not believing in Kofi, and they went on a journey as much as us as the viewers did. And that just helps, like, they're sort of echoing your own thoughts rather than being this WWE corporate speak all the time. And you're like, yeah, I'm starting to believe in Kofi as well. And that's what the commentators were saying. And by the end, when they were going like, that they were rooting for Kingston to stay in. It was really well done.
Really, really well done.
But the way AJ and Kofi had a match that was edge on your seat stuff because you didn't know if Kofi was going to get the upper hand and carry on.
All of those near falls really, really worked. Like, he had a series of pins where he was getting like more elaborate pins on AJ Styles, but each of them felt like they were desperation attempts because Kofi in his head's like, I need to pin this guy quickly because I've still got one more guy I need to beat if I'm going to come into this chamber last. I just thought it was really, really well told, including like when he beat another 10 count. He did this brilliant splash off the top rope for a near fall. This is when at the point when he'd been in the match for over an hour and AJ locks in the calf crusher, which he taps to, and it was kind of not Kofi's fault, but Kofi had one big last act of desperation where he did a double knees into the post and AJ got out the way. So Kofi, even though he'd been in the match for over an hour, was his own undoing because then AJ just locks in the calf crusher and Kofi's like, well, my legs have been worked over by AJ. I'm now knackered out my knees by hitting the ring post. I've got to tap out at this point.
And I guess like the other side, when I was talking about what direction they're going to take the match in, is to have AJ and Joe nullify each other, and then Kingston beats AJ because of that. But then you've got Randy Orton.
He's going to hit an RKO from out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's not getting paid by the hour, folks.
No, he is
not. I saw a really funny comment being like, oh, AEW's going to pay Randy Orton for less dates, is he? But will he have to wrestle at those dates?
Yeah.
He can just like do an RKO for 5 seconds work.
Yeah.
It's not a bad gig. But if that's the finish to your match, then it's actually quite a show of respect to Kofi to lose before that and have AJ take the sort of
Yeah.
not humiliating RKO, but it's not the great finish to this incredible Iron Man performance.
I was going to say, because AJ looked like such a doofus, because like New Day are helping Kofi to the back, Randy Orton's music's playing, and AJ is just looking up the ramp going like, where is he? Come on, Randy, come on down and fight me. And I'm like, mate, if you watched an episode of SmackDown in your life, this is meant to be the house that you built. He's coming in the back door, mate. He always does.
And, you know, I just praise the commentators. The commentators should know too. AJ, why are you staring at the ramp? Like, that's what I was screaming at the TV. It's like, you're going off air in a minute. I know how this match ends right now.
It was classic WWE commentary of like, don't look at the ring, don't look at what's happening around the ring, commentate on what you can see on the screen, commentate on what the viewers at home are seeing. So the commentators then look like absolute morons when the crowd are reacting to Randy Orton getting in the ring. They're like, AJ's ready. AJ is ready for Randy Orton to come down the ramp.
As Randy Orton runs past them. That's it. Like, that sort of mentality would work if it was a backstage thing, or you didn't have a live crowd reacting to everything the announcers supposedly can't see.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's a very minor thing.
Absolutely.
It was, of course, Randy Orton wins, and he can be the surprise heel at the end of the chamber. This was an absolutely incredible hour of WWE TV. I was very sports entertained. I was very wrestling entertained.
So, I mean, Kofi, he's starting the chamber, right? Like, if you're going to tell the Kofi Kingston story again this coming Sunday, he's got to be first in.
What, and he actually lasts to the very end?
Could be, yeah.
And then people's hearts are in their
And then,
mouths.
like, he's already pinned Daniel Bryan once. Can he do it again after all of this that he's gone through?
It's as fresh as SmackDown's main event scene feels at the moment, with Joe and Ali and now Kofi. Maybe this is just cynical. Well, it's not cynical, Ollie. It's Ollie being conditioned from decades of WWE booking. My concern is that they just go back to AJ versus Bryan.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it kind of feels like that's the direction we're heading, yeah.
And they have great matches, but I'm bored of AJ, unfortunately. Like, it's not like his WWE title run last year was had any stellar feuds, really.
And again, it's not the fault of AJ.
No.
That was the fault of WWE deciding that although he is champion for a year, we're going to give him 3 feuds. Like, over a year's span, he just faces 3 lads. Like, that to me is like, when you've got such a huge pool of talent, that's very short-sighted to just make him fight 3 people.
Yeah, considering what Bryan's doing now, and he's fending off everyone.
Yeah.
It's that. I'll put that to one side. This was still, in isolation, an absolutely terrific episode of SmackDown, and particularly mainly because of this gauntlet match. And it capped off like 3-4 weeks of very solid, really effective SmackDown booking. This was a great go-home show.
A great go-home show.
This built the Elimination Chamber. I want to see all these 6 guys compete in the chamber now. And yeah, surprise, surprise, wrestlers don't have to just get over by promos. They can get over by long matches and showing what they can do. Look at the Revival and Chad Gable and Bobby Roode on Raw. That was a dead crowd. And through wrestling, through what they're the best in the world at, they're professionals at this job, they got the people invested and on their side. So hopefully WWE realizes that and does more of it carrying forward. But the rest of the show was pretty good too. Shall we get on with it?
It's a SmackDown review, Maggle. I love it. We got us a flying Uso.
The show started with a memorial graphic for Pedro Morales, who passed away yesterday. And then the actual in-ring show started a bit weirdly. It opens on the SmackDown arena with all the crowd, the people who are there, so in front of the hard cam. And they're just playing a recap of Vince McMahon replacing Becky Lynch with Charlotte from the previous night's Raw. And usually those things open up, they're the full screen and it's a video package there. But you were watching the crowd watch the Titantron playing this.
Yeah.
It was
different.
I didn't mind it at all because I've got a suggestion. The promo, the clip on screen ended at a really weird point because Vince McMahon is saying, "Hey Becky, you're all these things," And this was getting heat from the crowd. A video clip was getting heat from the crowd because they love Becky and they don't like her being taken out. We've been worked. It's definitely a storyline.
No, some people have cancelled their network subscription off the back of it. They're not watching WrestleMania anymore.
And Vince McMahon says, and here's the person replacing you, Charlotte Flair. And then it cuts into Charlotte Flair's entrance.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And now I think Vince McMahon, that clip, Charlotte Flair, should be Charlotte's Stone Cold Glass Shattering. This should be at the start of every entrance for her.
I love that.
That is instant heat.
That's great. That's really good.
And that's lobby. That's lobby WWE to have that.
Yeah, that's rad, man. I really like that.
Imagine, there's a match is going on. It's Asuka versus Carmella. Oh, Charlotte's gonna come out and interrupt, but first it's Vince McMahon, and here's Charlotte Flair.
Someone with natural charisma. Charlotte Flair.
Dun, 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 dun. I'm trying to do her music.
Oh,
That
it was
just
spot
sounds
on.
like-
It was pretty good.
Dun,
Man.
dun, 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 dun. That's
Clap
Gold.
on. No, I thought
by
you were doing
Spandau Ballet.
clap on, clap off.
No.
The clapper.
No, I was doing Spandau Ballet.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to do Charlotte's entrance music. So she comes out and she cuts a very, very good heel promo. She's so at home here. Yeah, he said heel.
Yes. She has been cutting like these heelish promos for sort of months now, sort of like pretty much post like Evolution, I would argue, when like when they decided we're going to push Becky as a babyface now, and they tried to essentially just copy and paste what got Becky over and put it onto Charlotte, and it was from that IIconics segment, it was mad awkward because they were like, no, we can still push her as a babyface, but just a Becky Lynch babyface. It died a death and it didn't work. But kind of since late 2018, and particularly around the Royal Rumble and during the Royal Rumble, she has been acting more heelish. And I've been enjoying her work so much more. And then she came out here and cut this fully heel promo. I mean, I would argue last week's was fully heel as well, but some people would say it's a tweener thing. This was, I am a heel, my heel turn is complete. And as I said in the review, it was tremendously refreshing because she is a tremendous heel and she's a tremendous promo as a heel. I really, really liked this.
Yeah, if you rewind about 2 years when Charlotte was last a heel, when the Raw scene with Sasha Banks and all those matches.
I was going to say Sasha Banks and only Sasha Banks.
Yeah.
She was feuding with her for like 8 months.
All those matches, all
of those matches.
And she was. I liked her promos because there was something real about them. She'd seemingly interact with the crowd, but she'd also trip over a few words here and there. But 2 years later, she has refined that, where she can cut a properly heel promo, not be put off by the crowd. Even like the crowd almost fuels her. There was a bit when she did the most obnoxious woo, and it made me annoyed at her. But not in an X-Pac get off my screen way. It was like a boo,
and not in a this is gonna be good.
Yeah, not in that
Woo.
way. Oh my god, I can't believe that's technically within the same 1 year period. But the content was really good as well. She's trashing Becky, saying she's a flash in the pan. She's
had a good couple of months.
Yeah, but Charlotte is a future Hall of Famer. And then she mocks the crowd for Becky coming out. She's like, Becky.
If we chant it loud enough, she might appear.
Oh, it was great.
So good. And she was like, boo me now. You're welcome. She was really, really great. And then she dedicates the match to my friend Becky. I thought it was great.
Yeah, and there was one point where she just told a random person in the crowd, shut your mouth. It was really good.
Yeah, I'm the main event of WrestleMania. I'm the main event.
And, treat this as a villain in a movie saying stuff, not like this is WWE's... This is obvious. This is so obviously a storyline.
No, is it? No, I need to go over to YouTube now and thumbs down that video to show my disgust at them taking out Becky Lynch from the WrestleMania main event because she's suspended. She can't be at WrestleMania now.
I'm just hoping those 63,000 thumbs down on that YouTube video clip is more people. They agree with the angle to progress the storyline. They know Becky's going to come back in. What they disagreed with, Luke, was the build and the substance behind it. YouTube thumbs up, thumbs down are definitely that considered to think that way.
I would certainly say so, yeah.
She also did reveal that she'll be at Elimination Chamber this weekend, which is more than Asuka's going to get.
Yeah.
To be in the crowd or to be at ringside to watch Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott.
Yeah, she's like, because, hey, we might see a new Raw Women's Champion crown. It's like, yeah, good one. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, stranger things have happened, I guess.
That's the first time anyone's acknowledged Ruby could win on WWE TV.
Michael Cole did it. He gave it his best shot on Monday to say that she could win.
Anyway, I thought Charlotte was absolutely excellent.
Loved
it. She's really at home in this heel angle. And I'm really looking forward to the Ric Flair birthday celebration. I want that to be so over the top.
Yeah.
I think, I'm putting it down now, I think the Ric Flair 70th birthday celebration in 2 weeks' time could be Festival of Friendship levels of awesome.
Wow. Oh, you think Becky's going to crash the party?
I think Becky's crashing the party. I think it's going to be really over-the-top heel shenanigans beforehand. Ric Flair's going to talk into a book and make some sexually lewd comments, claims he slept with Halle Berry, Space Mountain, woo! And then the man, because you've got the man, Becky Lynch, taking on the man, Ric Flair.
Yep.
There's a lot they can do there, and the way they've been going recently, they've surpassed all my expectations.
I want to give a quick shout out because somebody sent me this on Twitter. Oh, where was the name? Who was it?
I'll fill while you're looking for it. I said on the podcast yesterday about this idea I had that definitely wasn't stolen from Reddit. It was where Becky should interrupt Ric Flair's birthday celebrations with a Guinness truck and do the sort of Steve Austin beer pump thing, but that Guinness is very stodgy.
Yeah, Sarah Lux got in touch with me on Twitter to say they could have pulled off. You remember when Shawn Michaels was heel for a month during his feud with Hulk Hogan, and they came out in Montreal, and he was cutting this promo in Montreal about like how he screwed Bret, and then they played Bret Hart's music, and the crowd exploded. They said they should have done that with Charlotte here. Like, you remember the other example would be when CM Punk won the championship from Jeff Hardy. And then he came out to Jeff Hardy's entrance music, and the crowd were really excited because they thought Jeff Hardy was there, and then it was CM Punk. And oh no, boo! Ooh. Like if you'd have started this show with Becky Lynch's music, but then Charlotte walks down to her music.
Yeah, that's good. But then you don't get the great Vince McMahon entry.
I know. I mean, you convinced me that is better.
Yeah. After this really good opening segment, we had definitely the worst thing on the show.
Easily.
Yeah. It was Naomi Carmella taking on Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, taking on the IIconics. In the same deal as what happened on Raw, the team that gets pinned starts off the chamber match on Sunday.
Yeah, it was the exact same match we saw last week as well.
And the IIconics, thinking smart, just decided never to tag in.
Because they watched WrestleRamble and they saw what we said, which is the smart play is not to tag in because you don't gain anything from winning. You don't get to stay in the pod longer if you win. You just don't get anything. Why bother tagging in? I thought the IIconics were great here.
Yeah, they also played those interviews that they've been playing forever. I feel like I've seen the IIconics one about 7 times. I've seen that more than the Black History Month promo.
I've seen it more than Asuka.
Yeah. And so we've seen the Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville one. We've seen the IIconics one. I don't think I've seen the Naomi Carmella one yet, which they played before this match.
I think they played that one last week.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Well, I don't want to go on record and say that they did or they didn't.
Well, did you notice their shared catchphrase that they did? Mm-mm. They said all their things and like we're gonna win because we're good at dancing and we've got a long history together. Period. And I thought that's a Monty Brown thing.
See, my references aren't out of date.
But then I also thought, is period the best catchphrase for a female tag team?
Well, it's just punctuation, isn't it?
If it was a guy saying penis, it just made me laugh for some reason.
I mean, well, Joey Ryan's been doing that for years, and it's got him over.
Working for him.
Yeah. This was. Wasn't really much of a match. It was the exact same match as we got last week. It was building up to Naomi versus Mandy. And then Naomi pins Mandy with the split-legged moonsault, 50-50 booking. So Fire and Desire will be first in the chamber with Bayley and Banks, which they showed via this graphic. They put this graphic up on screen that showed them almost like action figures inside an elimination chamber to show how the pods work, who's starting the match, which I actually thought was quite good.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. It's like a doll's house, that the pictures are full-bodied of them and they're all in profile, so standing to the side of the camera.
They look like they're ready to fight. They're not just smiling, going like, I'm happy to be here, which a lot of like WWE profile pictures do look like they're all just, I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy. I'm so grateful to be here.
I really like that. And I also really like the following WWE.com style interview clip of Bayley saying, don't worry, Sasha's really great. She's really tough. I'm sure she'll be ready to help me in the chamber on Sunday. Yeah. I don't know if that's a legit injury angle now or if they're just working us, because both could be true. But then came the Nia Jackson Tamina.
I wondered if you were going to...
What was going on here?
Well,
this was the funniest thing I've seen all week.
So this is... Okay, so Nia Jax is the star of that tag team. And the storyline I think they're telling is Nia Jax knows that. So she's just like, I'm just going to cut the promos. And then when Tamina tries to join in and cut a promo, Nia just talks over her. Because Nia in her head is like, why do you need to say anything? I'm the one getting all the heat. You're the vacuum. I'm the one who's actually generating heat. I'll just cut the promo for us.
Yeah, so Nia Jax just bulldozes ahead, delivering this promo uninterrupted, no pause for breath or for Tamina to interject. And I guess what they told them beforehand is, hey, Tamina, you're going to try and interrupt, and then you're going to show a facial expression that shows you're annoyed slightly, like a little bit of dissension there, because Jax is just doing all the talking for you. Unfortunately, Tamina doesn't seem to know how to act, and she just looked constipated. Yeah. So she'll mumble a word and then contort her face like. It was so funny. It looks like she was having a poop.
Do you know what? It's okay. So I really enjoyed this anyway. Apart from Tamina's terrible acting, because I don't think she can do anything right at the moment.
Everything else was great.
I think Jax is so good in this role. Yeah. Here's my concern though. If this is the storyline they're telling, that means this team is leading to a split, which means we're leading to Jax versus Tamina matches.
Well, they kind of got a pop back at... Sorry, that was probably very plosive. A pop back at the Evolution Battle Royal, where they had a stare-off.
Matches I don't want to see. Tamina versus Nia Jax.
Then we got Mustafa Ali doing his mobile phone promo, which, you know, was really cool outside in the snow.
Great. He's so good. He's such a lovable babyface.
And then the last thing we'll talk about, because we've covered the gauntlet match, was this Shane and McMizTV interview with the Usos, which was low-key a very, very effective segment for building a match that was only really decided 2 weeks ago and has had very little TV time or substance to put your teeth into, like feud and storyline wise. And it was just the Usos come out and say, let's do a tag team test. This is a reason we're going to beat you. Let's do a tag team test. Favorite color. And then the other Uso will go red. And they'll just run off things. And then Miz and Shane will say, well, we can do that too. Miz says, what's my favorite color? He whispers in Shane's ear, blue. And Shane goes, blue.
Yeah.
And the crowd really got behind it, especially when Miz said, what's my favorite sports team? Say the local sports team. And Shane says that and the crowd go crazy. It was really funny.
Pop for, I had to look this up. They're called the Toledo Mud Hens. And I had to look it up because I thought they said the Toledo Buttheads.
Buttheads.
I was like, their team is not called the Toledo Buttheads.
That's an Elias promo. You've just scripted for them next time they're in town.
Oh, man. The Toledo Buttheads.
But there was some, other than that, like Miz said, what's my favourite food? And he whispers something and Shane goes, quiche.
Yeah, he goes, quiche. It's quiche. And Shane goes, quiche.
Yeah, which is really good. Funny.
This was a segment that, on paper, like when they announced this, whatever it was last week, or, you know, when they said they're going to do McMizTV, I was like, nah, you know, it's a MizTV segment with the Usos. I'm sure at the very base level, it'll be fine because Miz is a very good promo. Shane can sweat his way through things, and the Usos are really good at what they do. But this ended up being almost like, not on the exact same level, but New Day Usos rap battle. When you see something on paper and you're like, oh, I'm not sure this is really going to work. Then they actually do it, and you're like, oh, that was great. This one segment has made me excited for this match on Sunday. I can't believe I'm sitting here saying, like, cannot wait to see Shane and Miz defend the tag team titles. But I am, because this segment was brilliantly designed, and it was that I really like it when WWE do this, and I think they do this very, very well, very effectively, which is that you've got one of the teams doing comedy. So you've got Shane and Miz feeding each other lines. You've got Shane going, quiche, things like this. But then the Usos are like, no, we're taking this seriously. And they slap the microphone out of Miz's hand. And that then fires them up to be serious as well. It's that Big E when he just starts shouting down the Usos because you need to get serious, son. I thought it was really, really effective and really cool in building their match. It's the 1 week they've actually done to build something, but it was enough to make me go, I'm looking forward to this match.
Yeah, and you had the Usos, who, like you said, great promo. Miz, great promo. Shane was the bit I didn't care about for this, but he had a really cool line where he said, I'm going to hit you so hard your brother's going to feel it. And then he really put an emphasis on the tag titles. Said, we are the best in the world because we've got these.
Yeah.
And he hung the belt up in the air in front of them. Usos turned to leave and then super kicked them. The crowd were really into the Usos as well.
I thought this was a home run segment.
I
really like this. And actually, overall, at the SmackDown show, I mean, I gave this a show a SmackDown because I thought there's nothing I can fault this on. Yeah, the three team tag match. Yeah, we saw it last week and we saw basically the same match on Monday. But it's fine. It is what it is. At least it was building to the chamber match, and they had the promo surrounding it from all 6 teams to make you go like, hey, this match is happening. Here are storylines that are going into this match. Now there's some intrigue going in there. All fine with that. Plus, it made sense because the IIconics didn't want to tag in, and that just kayfabe makes sense. So overall, I couldn't really find a fault with the episode, so I gave it a SmackDown rating, but it just did such a good job of making me excited for the Chamber this Sunday. I thought the build for the 6-man WWE Championship Chamber was just awesome, considering that they've been backed into a corner and had to rebook it at the last minute to add a new person into it. So within one episode, they've already made it feel like this was always meant to be this way. So I credit to them. I think it's a really, really strong job. I'm excited for the tag match. And I'm excited, in a way, I guess, for the women's chamber match for the tag titles. I think it might. I mean, it's going to be an absolute train wreck, I think. But there could be something coming out of it. I'm more excited for anything on the SmackDown side of things than I am Baron Corbin versus Braun Strowman. And I think that SmackDown has been on a roll as of late. I thought this was a really good show. It's such a shame that no one attends their shows. And it's such a shame that WWE have conditioned their fans through 20 years of storytelling that that SmackDown is the B show, you don't need to care about it. And that's really has hurt them because SmackDown attendance is never as good as Raw because they've been told, if SmackDown comes down, you don't need to go to it because it's a bit rubbish really, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I think this was an excellent episode. I give it 5 out of 5 too. A SmackDown, which is very rare for me.
Really, really looking forward to this Sunday now.
Yeah. We'll
Shame
have
about Asuka though.
That's the only downside. Like those, who's ready for Asuka? No. We are.
Yeah.
But they're not around.
Because I made this joke last week that no one's ready for Asuka because the entire SmackDown Women's division is in that one match, is in the chamber match. And Becky and Charlotte are tied up with Ronda Rousey. And a lot of people said, what about Nikki Cross or Lacey Evans? They're allowed to go across both brands. Yeah. And I'm like, in all honesty, you could have done a Lacey Evans match. Like, yeah, it's too soon to be putting her into a title picture, granted, but it's better than Asuka doing nothing. Like, she beat the Royal Rumble winner. She beat the person who's going to headline WrestleMania clean at the Royal Rumble. And she hasn't been on TV since the Rumble. She got a video package last week, my friend. Whoop-de-doo. Like, she's had sweet FA. And that feels like a big error.
Yeah, it is a shame. But let's do some Patreon shout-outs.
That's not an error.
Because one of the things at Elimination Chamber is Wrestle League, which is our fantasy predictions league, which everyone who donates $5 or more on Patreon to us a month can be a part of.
Yeah.
And these are some of those people. So thank you, Ben. Hey now, you're a rock star. Haley.
Yes,
Woo!
Ben Haley. Big Apple Takedown, Lindsay Monroe.
That is a very good nickname. Butter me up, Soren Nord.
Oh, butter me up. Harry and the Hendersons Burgers.
That is a film and TV series I used to love in my youth. Robin Banks, Lee Roberts.
Oh,
Woo,
yes, he
yeah.
is. Ryan B. Bad.
He's so bad.
He's so bad.
This is a tasty Tim Heidenberger. Labored, it's a belabored name.
It's a Pulp Fiction line. Probably better than Kyle, Philip O'Reilly.
No. He's not going to be better than Carl. I love you, Philip, but Carl O'Reilly's the man. The tactical distraction, Anthony Ibanez.
Oh,
That feels
tactical,
like
mate.
A real nickname.
I think he's talking to you. Damian Thompson.
Whoa, Damian.
Simpsons.
And Matthew Thaybolt. This city on rock and roll. Woo!
Yeah, there it is.
That's all we've got time for today. Please click the videos that have just appeared on our laps to catch up with the latest Wrestle Talk videos, and this button, which will make you a part of Wrestle League on Patreon, and you can get your shout-outs too. I've been Ollie Davis, this has been The Other One, Luke Owen, and that was Rambling.